Hello again, Yanni Zinonos with you. We have a very interesting person with us. We have a close personal friend of mine and artist, a local King's Cross resident, Christine Dean. How are you?
Oh, very well, thanks, Yanni.
Thank you. Well, let's get straight into the art. Behind us, we have one of your pieces.
Yes, it was from a recent exhibition at a gallery called Alaska Projects, which is in King's Cross, actually in the King's Cross car park, and the exhibition was in June.
Great. Okay, so tell us about the inspiration behind your art, because there's a few different things happening. Like we said, you're an urban dweller, you're an urban city dweller. You're also an arts lecturer, and you do study art theory a lot, and I know that you're very intelligent and knowledgeable in that area. So what inspires you to come up with this work?
Well, I like doing text art because it allows you to convey a message very directly, and so it really combines both poetry or literature and visual art, and that's something I'm very much into. Also, the work has a strong abstract quality, so combining text and abstraction is really something I enjoy doing. And there's a wonderful tradition in contemporary and modern art that does this.
Okay, now we've also seen some in the text there. We can see that you're also covering like lifestyles, like people's personal lifestyles, and so you are a transgender person.
That's right.
Okay, yep, great. That's really good. So how does that affect your art?
Well, there are transgender people who don't make art about queer theory or queer ideas, but mine is very much about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a generational thing. The older ones tend not to, and the younger ones, from my age down, tend to address it directly. So basically, I have an interest in queer theory, postmodern theory, gender politics, and also local history. So for me, my exhibition was about queer theory and queer ideas, but it was also about the local history of King's Cross, whose past is predominantly queer.
It's interesting. Now, what is the difference? I mean, we're getting a bit kind of like deep here and slightly socio-political. What is the difference between queer and gay?
Well, my definition is that queer is to do with gender and being gay is to do with sex. So it's a sex-gender divide. It's as simple as that.
Right, okay. That's interesting, because it seems to me that a lot of people don't understand those differences.
That's right. People get it all mixed up, but if they follow that guide about the gender-sexuality divide, it's as simple as that.
Okay, great. Now, so we mentioned that you're transgender. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about that, or get slightly in depth about that? Keeping in mind that it is a 7 p.m. time slot.
Right. Well, I didn't really intend to go down the transgender path, but, well, look, it's something which is great grist for the artistic mill, because for me being an artist is all about interpretation, understanding things and the way things are interpreted and understood. And transgenders are often very misunderstood. So having art as a vehicle from which I can express certain ideas and bring them into the world is just wonderful. So it all works well together.
Well, I think one of the great things about the age that we live in is that it is Sydney, and Australia is a place of acceptance. I mean, acceptance is progress. It's about just letting everyone be, you know, and it's about, you know, diversity that we see in art and in people's lifestyles and who they are. And I think you know, diversity, acceptance, variety, individualism, I think that's a great driving force, isn't it, in our community? And also, I think it's a great time to be trans, isn't it? Because you know, with okay, how do you feel that Caitlyn Jenner, has that been a good or bad thing for the trans world?
Well, look, I think it's a good thing because it has popularised the topic, although I certainly wouldn't run my sex change according to a photo shoot or a television program.
Certainly not on this one.
No, and she's certainly got a lot more money than I have, so she's more cashed up in terms of surgery and whatnot. But it's interesting in that being transgender today is like being gay 30 years ago. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So Yanni, I can only suggest that if you want to go back to the 80s, have a sex change.
Well, look, I won't be doing that. It's a bit late for that. If anything, I would like a facelift. But being on community TV, as you know, we are not low budget. We are no budget. But nevertheless, look, what I love about being on community TV is getting all these fantastic people together and meeting really interesting, fabulous, creative people like you.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I've had a wonderful time today, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the mini meat pies.
Fantastic. All right, now, just very quickly, getting back to the art, tell us about the art and the message that you're trying to get across to people that may not understand you. For example, like you as an individual, how can because I went to your exhibition and I thought it was fantastic. There's a lot of people there, and obviously you're using art to convey a message that people may not socially or intellectually understand.
Well, the crowd that I hang out with all get it, and they appreciate it. All the paintings are quotes, so they're quotes from books, conversations, interviews, various things.
So these aren't just random words, like you've really researched them and looked into them on a
That's right.
like on a philosophical level as well.
Yes, it's very much research driven. And one thing I think is very important for the LGBT community is to remember its past. It's so easy to think, oh, we all fit in now and we all belong, but certainly in the past we've had a rocky road, and these quotes directly address the history of our movement and our culture. And the painting behind me is a quote from a type of fiction which is commonly referred to as King's Cross pulp fiction, a literary genre that became popular in the 1950s and 60s. So it's a direct quote which looks at the controversial perceptions of apartment living and King's Cross from that period.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
And so, yeah, so it's called 96 King's Cross. So they're all quotes. Another painting I did, which is called Drag Queen, it was a direct quote from Roberta Perkins' 1983 book, which was called The Drag Queen Scene, which was the first academic study of transgenderism in King's Cross.
Very interesting.
So I'm very much like an archivist, you know, sort of a literary
Yeah, because
person.
you know a lot about art history.
That's right.
Because I know, like, I've seen you in action at art galleries, and you seem to know everything about every artist. But what's great is that you've come in, and we know a little bit more about you.
Oh, thank you.
So, Christine Dean, good luck with everything, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yanni, thank you so much for your insightful questions.
Fantastic.